welcome back to the Sports Rundown. I was going to say bet along, but NFL Thanksgiving preview show. How are you getting on tonight, Dermot? Your second time only on the show with us, so welcome aboard.
Cheers. Happy to be here to dissect the greatest game ever on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the big
greatest game ever on the greatest day ever.
So to anyone watching in, this is going to be, we're just going to run through the three games that are on Thursday, the three NFL games. It'll be slightly different to our usual show, obviously, but we've had a few different preview shows over the course of the year here on Sports Rundown. We've had the horse racing, European football, and this is going to be the first NFL preview show, so hopefully it goes well. It'll be slightly new to us and obviously new to you guys, so we'll run through the three games. And we'll take it from there. The first thing we want to point out, though, is that we're partnering with Boyle Sports on this show here, and they have a pretty good offer this week. Actually, it's the three favourites on Thursday, so that is the Bears, the Cowboys, and the Bills to all win, and that's boosted to 3-1. And if you sign up there, you'll get a bet 10, get 30 in that account there. So you can actually click in our link tree and the various different links we have around sportsrundown.com, and you'll be able to take advantage of that offer. So I see you're with us now, Gary. How are you getting on tonight?
Yeah, buzzing, LB. Buzzing. Can't wait for this.
I do know it's usually your favourite time of the year, Thanksgiving. You're more American than European. You prefer it to Christmas almost.
Yeah, that's it. I'm back to Dublin. So our fantasy football team, our fantasy football league, I think it was created either 2005 or 2006. And every year since, there's been some sort of representation in a sports bar in Dublin. So there's 10 of us heading along this weekend, this Thursday to watch it. So really looking forward to that. So flying back from London, be hitting up the Woolshed in Dublin at about 4:30 or so, and then staying until they turf us out, which is unfortunately going to be early this year due to COVID. But really looking forward to seeing the lads again and
I feel sorry for whichever lads got the invitation at the weekend anyway, from the way you let that little thing slip. There's a couple of us probably going to turn up Saturday afternoon and a few empty tables. But right, we'll kick off. So the first game, Dermot, you've taken a look at this one in great detail for us here. You've been excited about this game all year by the sounds of it.
Yeah, the magnificent Bears versus equally magnificent Lions. It's like these two teams, it's been a struggle with them all season. I should imagine the Bears are probably feeling a bit worse off than the Lions, even though the Lions haven't won a game yet. I just spotted an interesting angle into today's game that I don't know whether it's true or not, but there's been I think the cat is out of the bag that Nagy's supposed to get a sack after the game. If that's true, it puts a very different spin on the game. I know I see the Bears are -3 at the moment, but I could see that coming down if it's true. Which would be very strange for the Lions to be getting towards favouritism. Hasn't moved yet, as far as I can see. But good look off bit. It's gone down to minus. It was -3.5 for the Bears earlier. It's gone down to -3 for the Bears now, which is a bit of change towards it. I don't know. I don't think Goff coming back is going to move it that much. It's a big plus for the Lions, even though they were close enough to win last day. I don't think they were going to beat the Browns, but they done enough to stay in the game. But from the Bears declared already that Dalton's going to be playing, which is a big. I think it actually suits them more. I know they've stuck with Fields, and when Dalton was injured and after he come back, but I think the team, the players that have it probably suited more. Like Allen Robinson hasn't done a thing all year, but you'd imagine it would suit having him and having Darnell Mooney out there. An interesting statistic I found earlier that the Lions are 10 points better off against the quarterback that's not described as a mobile quarterback. So a player like Fields or Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts, they're actually full 10 points better off this year in a game than the 7 other games they played against what would be traditionally not described as a mobile or rushing quarterback, which is a big difference for them, considering they're now not playing Fields and they're going to be up against Dalton again. So that you can't make a case to back the Lions at +3.5, but it's getting to it's not far off where they might cover. The other thing is this is probably nearly the last call for Dan Campbell to get his first win. When they start running out of games and time and players to actually get the first win on the board. Montgomery being back for the Bears, a big plus. Like the numbers for the Lions' run defense is pretty bad. So him being back, I think he's going to be like, even if the Lions get their offense going at all, which they haven't really this season, he could be he's a big addition for the Bears to have him back. He's ranked five in, well, it's fantasy, but he was ranked 5 last season, and he's been missing for a good few games. He played okay the other day, but like, he's their bell cow back. They didn't. Herbert was Khalil Herbert pretty good when he was out. He's gotten 4 snaps the last 2 games, so it's been all going through Montgomery.
I think overall, Dermo, I think most people are expecting. I know that I definitely am expecting a low-scoring game. You on the same page there? Oh
yeah, definitely. Yeah, the line at the moment, I think it's under 38, it's under 41.5. That seems very high. Like, I know there's going to be 2 tired teams and thin squads, and you're kind of going, are they going to be worn down by the end of the third, and the offenses just have there'll be nothing to stop either offense when they're on the field, but both offenses aren't great. Like, if you're, I don't know. I think if they're not, if they don't have, if it scores at like 14-13 by halftime, I don't think it's going to cover for the over anyhow. So I think if it's 10-7 around that area,
because it stuck out to me as a bet, and I was looking at it earlier on. I kind of said to myself, we're going to look at the Lions' record, and they haven't scored over 20 points in a game, I think, since week 1. And that was against the Niners, when the Niners kind of imploded in the second half. So, Joe, with the injuries they have as well, it's hard to see them kind of breaking that against the Bears.
No, it's not. And you think about their number 1 receiver this year is their tight end. Their number 2 receiver this year is the running back, and their number 3 receiver this year is the fourth choice for the Titans last year. So they don't have their players on offense. They went from having a really good receiving core last year to being the scrubs off other teams, plus their own team actually. Like, Quintus Cephas was 4th choice, maybe 5th choice last year. He's 2nd choice this year. It's just, it's a big drop.
Anyway.
No, I wouldn't. Like, they have been good on their own, but you can't rely on that. If a team, like, especially against the Bears are actually one of the better run defenses in the league. They're currently ranked 6th, which is, considering the record at the minute, it's still something a positive from their season, So if
the
Swift
positive from their season,
there's few and far between now. But if they can get on top of Swift, and Jamal Williams is back for this game, if they can keep them from getting on the run, I think the Bears will cover, even though there's Goff's back into the whole Nagy stuff. But I think
did you see the clips during the week from the basketball games, and the fans at the basketball chanting "Nagy out, Nagy out"? Yeah, when I saw that, the caption on it was "the clock is ticking" or something like that. The whole city is just turned on that guy. So I think
it's really worse than Solskjaer.
yeah. I think even a couple of Bears fans that I know have been saying that the only good will come of this season is that he gets the sack. So I think if it's going to happen this week, I think there'll be a lot of happy Bears fans, especially if they cover that spread as well.
Yeah, like, the Bears obviously came out and said, no, it's just a rumor, but like, they're hardly going to say it before a big game like this,
But that's universal in sports. When you get the support of the executive board or whatever it is, your days are numbered. So it's, once they have to come out and actually say that they're not going to sack you, the writing is on the wall, I think, at that point.
Yeah. I think if you're having a bet this week on the spread, I'd definitely go the Bears. The Lions have actually covered 6 times this year, but they've covered all the times in there. I think the number is at over 8. I think is where the number is when they're not getting 8 points today or on Thursday. So I think that's one to stay away from. But if
it stays within 3, I'll back the Bears. If it goes to 3.5 or anything higher than a field goal, I won't bother. But yeah, it's not really one that's catching the eye either way, though.
No, it's not. It's look, everything points, as Gary says, to the unders. It could also be that because these squads are so thin that by the third quarter, if they're getting worn down from on defense and offense, or the defensive line starting to get worn down, it opens up. But they don't have. Neither team has the weapons to exploit that. So, I would say that Montgomery is probably going to be the main staple of any bet to have in this game, and I'm going to have one bet builder on it. So, yeah, I'll be fully expecting Montgomery to at least get over the line.
But it sounds like your bet builder is the Bears to cover under points and Montgomery to score.
Not quite there yet, but just 1 second. I had a stat up here. The Bears or the Lions have given up 1 rushing touchdown per game, so they're averaging 1 rushing touchdown a game. The Bears pretty much, they're not scoring. Their wide receivers aren't scoring, so I think that's the angle to go at.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The other side of going for is when Goff is playing, because I don't know whether he's just a bad quarterback or he even got anything to throw to. Is he checks down a hell of a lot. Like the receptions for the running backs is Swift is 53 and Jamal Williams is 16. But that's probably nearly half the team's total receptions, and he's the line is set for Swiss receiving yards is only at 35, which I think is actually quite low. So if you have a bookies that allow you to squeeze it up a bit, I'd nearly go out, try to hit it towards more to 40, even if 39.5. If they're offering 34.5, definitely take that, because Goff will keep checking down all night, especially if the Bears run defense is stopping them going through the middle. Then he just keep checking down. He doesn't have the wide receivers. If they double up on Hopkins, there's no one there.
Yeah, they're very one-sided, all right.
Well, the thing is, if you look at most teams are going to have a tall wide receiver. The Lions don't even have that. Khalif Raymond's 5'8". It's
right.
He doesn't. They don't have. He doesn't like Goff is getting a lot of stick this week, but he doesn't. If Hawkinson's covered, he's no one to throw it to, except he's running back. So I think that's the angle to keep at. Though I would put Hawkinson in for probably about 3.5, maybe 4.5 receptions, just on the fact that the Bears haven't got a great secondary. So they have a good defensive line, but you couldn't really trust their secondary. Like you see how quickly the Ravens with Tyler Huntley went down the field the other day against them. It wasn't a great quarterback that got him down the field, down 80 yards down the field. It was football. A quarterback was having a bad game.
Yeah. Albie, what's your thoughts?
It's not one that jumps out to me either way at all. I just think, any game that has a little bit of off-field drama for me is already a flag to stay away from it. I do agree with what Dermot said there. I mean, it's hard to see anyone racking up a score in this one. I mean, neither of them have looked good with the ball at all really this season. That stat you said about the Lions not breaking 20 in whatever that is, about 7 games. I do think the Bears will cover, and I think, it does seem like Nagy's quite unpopular. So if he's going to be getting showing the exit door, maybe that you get a performance out of the players. But if you had one bet this weekend, it probably wouldn't be on that spread. I do think the under looks pretty solid though, especially if it's in the 40s. It's hard to see either team scoring 20, never mind both.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. So, like, I mean, I hate backing unders. So I probably won't. In fairness, I probably won't back it, but I think it's probably the bet of the game. As I said, the stat on the line is not scoring over 20 points since week one. And then even if you look, these teams met earlier on in the season when they're probably both fully fit. And that was only a 28-point game, or sorry, a 38-point game, finished 24-14, I think. So I think under is, but I won't be backing it. I agree with the Bears -3. But I'm actually going to go for an anytime touchdown scorer in this game with Marquise Goodwin. So Goodwin got a touchdown on Sunday. I think Dalton likes a deep threat. He likes to kind of fire the ball around. You don't get a nickname like the Red Rifle for nothing. And Goodwin's around 3-1 for a touchdown anytime. So against the defense that hasn't been good against the pass, kind of a weak secondary, I think he's a decent bet. So that'll be my main bet. I might do a bet builder with the -3 and the unders as well. But I'm still scarred from the last time I backed an unders on Thanksgiving, and I was the only person in the pool cheering it on. Everybody else was cheering the over. So that'll be in the back of my mind as well.
Psychological baggage. I think that's a big part of why the line might be a bit higher. I think, you see these type of occasions, people are always looking to back the over. I think it's going to have a lot of public money on it. And like you said, I'm in the same boat as you. I hate to back unders.
Historically, the games on Thanksgiving are averaging 45 points a game in the last 6 years. So that's out 17 games. So, but
you only need to go slightly below that for two pretty poor offenses to go below that doesn't seem me.
I'm not sure there's ever been as poor a game on Thanksgiving that I can remember anyway. I can't remember not looking forward to a match kind of as much as this. Now, still enjoy it. There's still a few punting angles there. So, watch any NFL game if it's on. But it's one of the
these two teams played in 2018 with far better sides, and they only got 39 points between them. So. Yeah, so everyone back the unders and watch them score.
I was going to say though, we're expecting it to be so bad it'll probably be the game of the day now. That's the way these things pan out. So,
no, that's the beauty of the NFL. It could be nothing happen for the first 3 quarters, and it could be the most dramatic game you ever seen in your life for the last 15 minutes. That's why
if the last 3 weeks, certainly in the Circa contest, have shown us anything, that the form book can easily go out the window. So there's no point in dwelling on I think it could be it's unlikely to be an entertaining game, but it could be a good watch at the same time. It's kind of what I'm hoping for anyway.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to check, I should just try to call up. What's the weather due to be like in Detroit?
It's indoors.
Is Detroit indoors?
I'm fairly sure it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure it is. But yeah, so just to see people watching in on across Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you are watching in, let us know what you think in the comments. So I think the rounded view here in the Bears-Lions game is that the under is a decent bet. The Bears -3 is probably the most likely against the spread. And then I've thrown Marquise Goodwin out there anytime at around 3-1 for a touchdown. So feel free to let us know your bets in the comments. Any questions for us, let us know as well. And if you are watching for the first time, it's the first time on our page on any of the social platforms, make sure to give us a like or subscribe, whichever kind of platform you're on. If you're on YouTube, obviously subscribe. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, a like would be much appreciated. We're also, as Liam mentioned earlier on, we're doing this in partnership with Boyle Sports. They've given us an offer for this evening. So to bet 10, get £30 in free bets. Plus, you'll be able to back the favourites, so the Bears, the Cowboys, and the Bills, all to win on the money line at 3-1. So that's currently 2-1, enhancing it to 3-1. So in the comments on Facebook and YouTube, there's a link tree. If you click on that, click through to the offer, you'll see it. And it says pounds on screen, but if you're watching from Ireland, when you click through, it will automatically default to euro. So don't be put off by that. But yeah, as I said, make sure to be interactive in the comments. We like to chat away during these streams. Happy to answer any questions, or as I said, let us know your insights from a betting perspective, which would be great.
Yeah, I like that offer as well, Gary, because quite often you see special offers. They're either very, very small or they're on the rank outsiders and they get boosted from, 7s to 15s, but you're not backing them anyway. So I like, they like this. You just get a nice bet on the 3 favorites and look for your juice elsewhere. So I do like that.
You're getting those free bets as well, which will come in handy throughout Thursday.
When all my tips lose. Yeah, that's why you need the free bets when you're listening to mine. We'll move on to the second game. So after that one, so the main course, I mean, this game looked like it was going to be the game of the day up until about 3 weeks ago. The Las Vegas Raiders traveled to Texas to take on the Cowboys. Up until this month, and then the wheels have come off completely for both of these teams. I mean, the Cowboys were on a 6-game winning streak before. Now they've lost 2 out of 3. The Raiders, they were 5-2, I believe, at that point. They've lost 3 on the bounce. It's just awful between the two of them. One combined win in November. Only once have they covered in November. So it'll be an interesting one. This is really going to see if one of these teams is going to bounce back. Well, one of them has to, I suppose, but the overline has dropped quite a bit. It was 55 at the start of the week, and now it's down to 50.5. So quite a significant drop there. I think the expectation is this will obviously be a lower scoring game than originally anticipated. Cowboys are 7-point home favorites on this one. So it's really hard to know what to make of both of these teams' forms. I still rate the Cowboys very highly. I think that they had a bad offensive day against Kansas. They were still quite good without the ball. They dismantled the Falcons the week before, and then they had their own, in my opinion, their only really bad performance of the season the week before against the Broncos. The Raiders, on the other hand, they kind of look like they're imploding a bit. Things are just going from bad to worse. Their last 2 defeats, I mean, actually their last 3, they lost to the Giants, which, the Giants aren't really doing much this season. And then the 2 other losses were absolutely humbling. I think it was 41 and 31 points they've conceded. I think they've conceded 96 points in their 3 games since the bye week. So it's just been from bad to worse for them, really. If the Cowboys didn't have injuries, I think you'd be, bet the house on the Cowboys this weekend. Their home record is really impressive. We have an article up on sportsrundown.com, and I mentioned in there, I think it's 8, 14, 20, and 40 points that are winning victories in their 4 home wins this season. They obviously lost to the Broncos, but that did look to be a bit of an off day. Nothing worked for them that day. And one thing that did stand out to me, they both lost a couple of games recently, but the nature of the defeats, the Cowboys were down early against the Broncos and they fought back pretty well. They scored a good few points in the second half. I think they lost by maybe 2 touchdowns in the end, but they were fighting till the end of that game. Against Kansas, it was the same thing. They conceded very early and then they were fighting at the end. I mean, they could have actually, that game could have been an awful lot closer. They lost by 10 points, but there was that interception late on when I forget his name, but the defensive lineman tipped the ball. It was, they were right in it up until the kind of the end of the fourth quarter. If you look at the two defeats for the Raiders, I mean, they're just getting absolutely humbled by the, I'm pulling a blank on who it was against now, but they got humbled in both of those games. They've looked awful. I think they've completed 1 of their last 15 third down attempts. It's just, they look to be on a much worse trajectory. And like I said, if the Cowboys didn't have, I know Amari Cooper has got COVID or tested positive for COVID. CeeDee Lamb is concussed. Zeke is carrying a potential knee injury. There's a few question marks there. But if you look at the guys who've come in for the Cowboys this season, they've done quite well. So I'm not overly concerned about the injuries. I think the Cowboys win this game handsomely. I think they cover. And I think that, Raiders fans would be no stranger to this time of the year, the wheels coming off, and it just looks to be the direction they're heading again. So for me, it's I don't know if I'd back the over 50s very high, but it'll probably be a relatively high scoring game and the Cowboys coming out.
I think that's the reason why the over number has come down, is the injuries especially to the Cowboys. Because with you, LB, if you look at the Cowboys home form, especially this season, they're racking up a lot of points. So I was looking at this as being an overs, but with those injuries, it's kind of tapered a small bit. But then the other thing you have to take into account is the Raiders' recent record. Scoring 13 points at home against the Bengals. They only scored 16 points against the Giants. so they haven't really been on top form on offense over the last couple of weeks. So I think the Cowboys will come out and win this. I don't think they'll cover the spread, personally, would be my thinking. Especially, I think you said 7, LB. I think it's just moved on screen to 7.5. Job over a touchdown here.
It's actually been going up and down all week. It's been 7.5 back and up forward. So, yeah, it is flirting with increase in there.
Yeah, so for me, I think that the bet here is Cedric Wilson. So I'm going to back him. His yardage and his anytime touchdown score. So he's got 7-4 anytime. And I just felt that on Sunday watching the game, that kind of Dak trusted him. He went to him an awful lot. Didn't get a massive amount of yards, but I think that was just due to the offense playing bad across the board. But he's been getting targets this season, even with a full kind of lineup within the Cowboys offense. And now that they're depleted, I think this is kind of the game to shine for him. So I think it's probably going to be a breakout game for Wilson. As I said, I might double up his touchdown and his yardage, receiving yardage over in the game. I think it's about 4-1 for that double, maybe just under. But the 7-4 anytime touchdown would be the bet I'll be having in this game.
I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on it, Dermot.
Yeah, I had Cedric Wilson back last week because whenever Cooper's been out, Lamb's been put out to the perimeter, and Wilson's taken up the slot. So it'll be interesting to see where they play him this week because I don't know who's going to be obvious going to be out on the perimeter this week. I'm presuming they're going to have to use him. Gallup is obviously going to be out there out wide as well. I see. Is Lamb not out this week?
He's out by concussion protocol. I don't know what it is. Is it 100%? I can't see how he gets back.
I see him. He's priced up with a few firms to actually play, to score. But
I think the way the concussion protocol works is, he's not officially out, but they're saying that he just won't have the time to get back for Thursday.
That's it. Yes, so I'd agree with Gary on Cedric Wilson. Also, I personally probably want to back Dalton Schultz. I know he hasn't scoring. He had a kind of decent streak there to start the year. I could say that probably a lot of the Cowboys players, but if Wilson's forward out wide, he'll operate more out the slot, and I think that's a very weak area for the Raiders. I think they're 29th in passing yards against them. 29. They're 26th in passing yards against them. So it should be a good spot for both those players, but they're probably not priced to be going bet bidder, but the two of them in there.
It's interesting you've both gone for kind of receivers. I was looking at it, and I think the Cowboys will go back to a kind of a run game this week, back to basics, especially with the injuries, because when they had that 6-game winning streak, when they were looking really good, they were very run heavy. They were number 1 in the league for, I think, rushing attempts and rushing yards. They just went, heavy on the ground. And, with the injuries now and the 2 losses, you could see there was issues last week with the OC, the calls he was playing. People didn't look that happy afterwards. I think that they're going to go back to a run-heavy game. I like Pollard in this one because he got a lot of yards. He was averaging over 7 yards per carry last week. I like him here, and I think they're going to favor that side of it more. Now, if the Raiders are weak against the pass, that's why I think the Cowboys cover so handsomely.
The Raiders are actually worse against the run, so you could be on the right line there.
There we go. Yeah, so I don't think the Raiders will be able to stop the Cowboys on Thursday. That's my thinking. I like the player prop angles, but I know you think that the Raiders will keep it close. I just don't see how they will. And particularly for me, the lack of fight they've showed in the last 2 games, I don't know how you turn that back on. We looked at other teams throughout the season. They've been losing games. The Lions were one of them. Certainly earlier in the season, they did kind of hang around, even if they didn't win. And obviously they didn't win, but they've been kind of hanging around a bit. So you'd be more cautious going against them. But the Raiders just look kind of spiritless at the minute. So yeah, I like it there. The over, are either of you tempted by the 50 points? For me, it's too high.
No, there's too many Cowboys missing for like that. Like, I mean, that I know Stack is there. Zeke is carrying off. Pollard, Gallup's just back, and Wilson is fourth choice. So it's too light. It's too many injuries to go up with. And as I said, if they're going to run the ball, that's lower points straight automatically because you're just running the clock more. Unless you're getting into open territory with every run, it's just going to grind the clock. So that's going to bring the scoring down nearly automatically. You're dead right though about the Raiders. I think the analysis on it, someone had mentioned it earlier after I can't remember the interim coach's name, but they said he'll have a good first week, he'll be okay the second week, and by the third week they'll be completely rudderless, and it's exactly how it panned out. Just they said that of all the sports, the team sports in the world, he says American football needs leadership from the top front to keep everything going, because otherwise it just gets messy. So that's exactly how it's panned out. So
yeah, you can definitely see that sloppiness creeping in. Like.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say on Gary's point is about the Raiders being in there is the Cowboys are so tight on numbers that if they get up a score, they might be tempted to ease off a bit. Get a few guys out, make sure they're not down more in numbers. I know, like Lamb is a concussion, so you'd imagine he'd be back the next game, and Cooper, but I don't think I think if they get a score going, they'll probably ease off. I don't think they'll be.
I mean, the injuries is obviously.
The crowd.
Yeah, the injury is obviously at a point there. I mean, they'll make different calls because the squad is a little bit thinner. But the point I made earlier about the big home wins, they haven't really taken their foot off the gas in the games this season. When they get ahead, they just keep going. So now, like you said, they might rotate guys out, and then who knows? But they just seem to have. They don't seem to stop when they're up, and the Raiders don't seem to keep fighting when they're down, which is what made me think that the garbage time or late scores might not be as much of a threat.
What I meant, it was more, I think that if the Cowboys took their foot off the gas, they'll stop scoring. But I don't think the Raiders will come back at them. It's not in a normal scenario. You'd say that the team is losing might come back. I don't think the Raiders are fighting them at the moment to come back. I think it's just it'll keep the score in the unders. That was more my point.
Oh yeah. I think we're all agreed on the unders there.
Yeah, the one player that did stand out for a touchdown was Malik Turner. He scored twice against the Broncos, which was they were complete. I think they were 30 down. He got two touchdowns, but he's 7-1, which I think is a fair price considering their what the guys that they're missing. Early in the season, they had a good 1-2 punch from tight end, which is unusual in the league at the moment. When Jarwin and Schultz were on the field, so if they can get the Schultz Turner angle going, I think they seem to be playing their best football when Jarwin and Schultz were both on the field. So if they get that working, I think 7-1 is more than fair. It's he hasn't got as many snaps as you'd like, but it definitely stands out to me. I would definitely have the single anyway.
Yeah, I mean at that kind of price, you're happy to take a little chance that he'll get the snaps. So
yeah.
We haven't given the Raiders much love, lad. So one for the Raiders that sticks out a big price for me is Foster Moreau. So I think he's kind of going under the radar a bit. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves because of Waller's presence within the team. But
he scored it. He scored it Sunday, didn't he?
Yeah, he scored a nice touchdown on Sunday. He had 2 other touchdowns this season as well. I think against Philadelphia, he was probably their best player. And then he had a little bit of a spell out with injury. So I just think that he could sneak into the end zone at a big price. He's 8-1. I saw today. We might get bigger if people start backing the likes of Waller. So as the markets develop further over the next couple of days, you might see a little bit of drift of him. But I remember backing him 2+ last season in the game, and I think he got it up at like 60-1 or something like that. So I definitely don't think he's one to overlook, and a small punt at 8-1, you should get a good run for your money. I think. Yeah,
he benefits greatly from Waller being double teamed. He's there to mop up. Like it's just 2 guys marking 1 guy, and it's a red zone chance. it's a great benefit to that guy. That
Exactly.
the guy
He has
the
like,
unexpected guy.
Yeah, like most tight ends, he has that kind of size and presence, like that way. And he seems to have a decent set of hands as well. So, like, I probably would have backed him at 5s. If you're getting 8s, I think kind of has to be backed.
What is he for 2 or more, Gary?
I don't know.
Put you on
30 to 1 anyway. I didn't. I got it. I can get it here. 1 second.
Sorry, I put you on the spot. Considering you were talking about it, getting it before, it just, I don't want it to slip by.
At 8 to 1, yeah, he's probably good at 60.
I can't see the brace market at the minute. Here, let me check.
90 with Betfair.
90.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
now he's 66 with Sky, so it's a nice price.
Yeah, exactly. But as I said, I'll take the 8 to 1 now. But now after talking about it, we'll probably have a small stake on the 90s as well.
I had Cedric Wilson +2 last week, so I'm not going to get 66 to 1 this week.
Okay, so we're all agreed on that game. We think the Cowboys will win. I think they'll cover. With these, Gary, you think it might be a lot closer than that. Dermot, I'm not sure which way you leaned on that one.
Yeah, no, I think the Cowboys will cover. I'd nearly chance teasing them up a little bit too. I think
I think so. I think they'll win by double digits, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And then we're all agreed it'll probably come under that 50 mark. I mean, you can see it's coming down massively so far this week. I think it'll probably continue to go down between now and Thursday as well. So, okay.
If I saw 47.5, I'd probably back it. But over 50, I'm not too sure whether there's value in it. So trying to drop.
See, the thing is, if you're going over, you're expecting most of the Cowboys to hit 40 points because you can't see the Raiders. You can't see the Raiders picking. Like on a good day, they might pick up 21, but I couldn't see them going much.
So we've just said that Morrow is going to have 2 touchdowns, so that's
14.
Garbage time though.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite of the first game. So we're all pretty agreed on the under for the Bears game, but we're not really tempted by the spread or by the spread. Yeah, and in this game, we all have an opinion on the spread, but maybe stay away from that overs at the minute.
So we're going under on the first 2 games.
Yeah. All right, that is the end of the Cowboys. As Gary mentioned earlier in the show, we have Boyle Sports have got some great offers on this week for our Irish and UK viewers. So you can bet 10 and get 30 in free bets. So that would be pounds or euros, depending on where you are. And the enhanced special this week, so that's the Bears, the Cowboys, and the Bills all to win. It's enhanced from 2 to 1 to 3 to 1. We're all agreed on the Cowboys. The Bears game, we're not so sure yet, but it's still a good price enhancement there. And you can see the links on the screen and in the comments where you have a link tree, and you can just click through there, see our website, and see those offers. So make sure to click there. And that brings us on to the third game in that enhanced special is the Bills. The Bills at the Saints, Gary. You've had a look at that game for us.
Yeah, so John, I think the Bills are going to be kicking themselves the position that they found themselves in. So lost 3 of the last 5 games, being overtaken by the Patriots in the AFC East. And John, I think this is a really, really important game for them because in their run-in, they play the Patriots twice. So they're actually playing them next time out. And then they play them in a couple of weeks as well. So if they can get a win here, and then they've obviously got the kind of extended rest that playing on a Thursday night gives you, that should set them up nicely going into the Patriots game. If they lose this game and the Patriots win on Sunday, all of a sudden it's a recovery mission that they probably won't be able to achieve. So I think this is a massive game for the Bills. I think the concern, if you're backing the Bills, is their slow starts recently. So they had 3 points at halftime against the Dolphins, they had 6 points at halftime against the Jags, 7 points at halftime against the Colts. I think there was 17 against the Jets. So over the last 4 games, that averages at 8.25 points in the first half, which for a team like the Bills is fairly shocking. You look at other games this season, at the start of the season, especially when their offense was on fire, they were putting teams to the sword. The rout at the Dolphins, that was 40-0, kind of sticks in the memory. So something that's happened in the midway point of the season, and I can't quite put my finger on it because there doesn't seem to be a significant injury that you can point out. They still have a lot of depth in their kind of talent pool, like the talent players, wide receivers, running backs, etc. Their offensive line does seem to have kind of let more pressure, let Josh Allen get under more pressure, and he's been sacked a lot more recently. So that's another concern. So yeah, overall, I have a concern for the Bills on offense. But then when you look at the Saints as well, they've lost 3 in a row. They're kind of littered with injuries. Obviously, Jameis is out. Taysom Hill is back, but he's limited. Kamara is still questionable. Doesn't look like he's going to play. Ingram is questionable. He probably will play. And then you've got Troutman out as well, tight end. So I think he's out for 4 to 6 weeks, nearly kind of, you could say, right off his whole season. So it's hard to see how the Saints can get it going on offense against the Bills defense that are pretty good. And then Simeon threw his first interceptions of the season. So obviously he's only played 4 games this season, but his first interceptions came on Sunday, going into this kind of high-profile game in a Bills team that need to win, and a Bills defense that I think are ranked first in total defense this season. So it's going to be a tough task for him. So overall, I've come out that the Bills will win, but I do have that concern that they're slow starting, and obviously the performance of the offense over the last 4 or 5 weeks. But I think they'll cover the -5.5 spread that's out there. I think Dawson Knox is going to be a key player for them. So he was out injured and came back against the Jets, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and only had 1 reception in that game. But last Sunday, he kind of had a breakout game. I think 8 targets, 5 receptions, 80 yards. His over is 34.5 for receiving. So I think that he should make that, even though the Saints defense are pretty good against tight ends. I can see Knox is I think he's one of the elite tight ends in the league. So I see him making that 34.5 fairly easily. And he's 3-1 for any time touchdown, which I think is a good bet as well. We do have a few bets for the Saints side as well. So Tre'Quan Smith's receiving yards over. He's at 40 yards. I think he's been targeted a lot recently by Simeon. Simeon seems to trust him. Last 3 games, he's breached that 40-yard mark. I expect him to do it again. And then with Troutman out, it brings in the angles of the other Saints tight ends. So you've got Garrett Griffin and you've got Juwan Johnson. So Juwan Johnson is 8-1, which looks overpriced to me. Hasn't really done anything of late, but if you look back earlier in the season, I think he got 3 touchdowns in the first 4 or 5 games. So he could sneak into the end zone. If you put all that in a bet builder, it pays 190-1. Very unlikely that it all comes in. But as I said, the Knox anytime touchdown and Knox yardage will be what I'm focusing on Thursday.
A lot of betting angles there, Gary. I like those. I have a couple of questions for you, but maybe Dermot, do you have any opinions on this game before I start asking my questions?
Yeah, no, I had to follow Gary on back in Juwan Johnson because he was a great 151 winner for us on the opening day. He's
not for all of us, he wasn't.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, I love ahead of time today to go through, watch all the Saints games to find out why he's not playing, because I haven't seen anything. On the few games he's played, he seems to have done okay. But I don't know. I find the reason why Payton doesn't like him. Like Troutman's record in the end zone or the red zone has been terrible. I know he scored the other day, but he's I think he's at 25% for his reception completions in the red zone, which is not what you want. And I've seen a couple of games where Johnson, if he's electric, he's kind of like the Kyle Pitts mold. So I don't know. I don't know. He must be route running, or it must be his defensive side of the game. He's blocking that Payton doesn't like, because he's 100% for the red zone. He's 3 catches, 3 touchdowns in the red zone this year. So it's set up for him to have a chance. And like the Saints, even with all their their injuries and their their quarterback issues, they're still scoring. They're averaging just 28 points a game since Jameis got injured, which is it's pretty decent considering Simeon hasn't been particularly great, but I think it's more game management with him rather than his actual quarterback play. And they've been Taysom's been in and out. So, but I don't know. I think that 8-1 is. I don't think it'll stay 8-1. So I think if you can get it now, I would take it. On the game itself, I mean, if the Bills click, it could be a high scoring game. But I don't rate. As I've said it a few times, I don't rate the Bills running game at all. It was their Achilles heel last year. I think they would have been a lot closer to having a Super Bowl run if they had better running back options. And I think it's not killing them this year, but I think it's not the standard you want for when your wide receivers are getting locked down. You need a run game to pick up, and they don't have it. I know the numbers look good for Singletary and Moss, but they're nearly all games they've already won. I think that's
it. They don't seem to be able to do it when it matters, way in kind of the big games, and especially if where you need your running back to come in, especially when you've got a quarterback with wheels like Allen is. If Allen's having a bad game, you kind of need him to get him out of
that game against the Jaguars where Singletary should have stood up and he was absent. He puts up decent numbers of yards, but they're the bad yards. They're not really. He's running 25 yards to get 5 yards because he's all off to the side. It's never through the middle where that's where you hurt teams. And the Saints have a great run defense, so I think that'll be if the Bills continue their form. I think their Achilles heel will be the Saints defensive line, and it's going to be. I think the over is 45. I think it'll go, but it'll be from the Bills chasing the game. I think more so than the Bills being explosive from the start.
Yeah, I think if the Bills score early here, it could turn into a 60-point game. It could be very, very, very high score. But you just have that concern about whatever they've been doing in the first half. Just they're not playing against difficult opposition. So whether they've just taken their eye off the ball and thought they had the division won, there's something strange going on in that team and particularly on offense. But I said with the fact now that they're under pressure to win. And they need to catch the Patriots. I'd hope that spurs them on. I said if they score early, I think they definitely beat the 5.5 spread. Knox to me looks like a decent price to get into the end zone. You said you had a few questions lined up.
Yeah, you just kind of answered them there inadvertently. So I was going to say with the slow starts, are you tempted by any of the first quarter or first half markets?
So I didn't really look at them.
The over for the first half is 9.5 points in the first quarter. Apologies.
In the first quarter, the quarter bets can be tough, especially if they try and establish the run. If they come out and they say, right, we're going to try and establish the run first, and they are successful with it, they'll just drain the clock and you could just have one touchdown. So I think I'll probably stay. They're not really my type of bets, to be honest. So I'm going to do that bet builder. It's 190 to 1. So I'll call out again just in case anybody didn't get to hear what it was originally. So it's the Bills minus 5.5. Dawson Knox anytime touchdown. Dawson Knox over 34.5 yards receiving. Traquan Smith over 40 yards receiving. And Juwan Johnson anytime touchdown. So a lot needs to happen, but I think it's all possible. I said I think it could turn into a high scoring game. And if it does, they all have a chance. So
if it does turn into
you might be here on the stream on Friday.
Yeah, if it does turn into a kind of a shootout like you described, it could easily go. That 190 will look very, very high. So I like the sound of that. My kind of price range as well.
Great. Well, any other thoughts on that game, guys?
No, not on that game, but I actually skipped over one. Unless you have something on that game, Dermot, I don't want to move off just yet.
No, I think it's covered. I have a I have a dislike of the Bills running backs, as you can see, so I'll stop at that. I just saw at one point. I actually think for the praise their squad gets, I actually think it's. I think one thing that could be happening with their squad is that the same guys play every week, even if they're playing bad. And I think that if you have a team that does that, where you persist with the same guys that are playing bad, the guys that are trying to get in there kind of wears on them. So you create a bad atmosphere, and I think that could be partially. I know Gabe Davis has shown up a bit late recent weeks, but McDermott needs to start something quickly with that team. I would back I'd actually back the Saints +6 in this game, but it wouldn't be a confident bet.
Is that line looking like it's going to move, or you stick to your line kind of?
What's that? No, it's still at 6 there. What I'm looking at the moment is 6 anyway.
Oh yeah, I do think that they're moving a good bit this week, so we'll see between now and Thursday.
You reckon it'll go bigger?
I don't know actually. I'm really, to be honest, more of my attention has been on the Dallas game, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But every time I seem to flick in, the odds have changed. For they're kind of bouncing all half a point either way, so I prefer the 5.5 to the 6, of course. I'll leave with Gary there. I probably would back the Bills. I think the Saints are, they do. My kind of feeling on them is they do well when you don't expect them to, and they don't do well when you think they might. And with the Bills not looking great lately, I think maybe there's a slight expectation that the Saints will do well. So I was going to go against that. I don't think that they'll. Got to agree with the analysis. I don't think it'll go as high scoring as you think, as you kind of hope it might, Gary. Hopefully your touchdown scores come in, even if it's a low scoring game. But yeah, that's where I'm at. But the one I skipped over was actually the Dallas defense or special teams to get a touchdown is 5-1 against the Raiders, and the Raiders have the 5th highest amount of interceptions, maybe, or one of the highest interceptions of anyone, and Dallas are number 5 in terms of forced and turnovers and takeaways. So if the game gets a bit messy, I think that's another one. That's an angle I like the look of there. I think it could be a tough day for Carr, and that's actually a bet I'm going to do as well. So I forgot to mention that earlier.
Sounds like a good one.
On the Saints game, I'll probably bet Marcus Callaway. It appears they've finally found a trick on how to use him. He's kind of taken up the Michael Thomas role, so he's the new slant boy, as to call Michael Thomas. They seem to be using him properly in the end zone. Like, I mean, he was great preseason, and then nothing happened with him. I think I had him in fantasy. They drove me mad, but they finally seemed to last. I think he scored 3 the last 4 games, and they finally made plays that play to his strength, which was it's basically said it looks like Drew Brees to Michael Thomas now. But it's Simeon to Marcus Callaway at 3-1. I think he's definitely worth betting.
Is he that big a price?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing price now, must say.
Yeah, because he scored in his last 3 games, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think he's 6 on the year as well. Like, so.
Yeah, his reception isn't as high as other receivers. Like, you're definitely right on the Smith angle, Trayvon Smith. But he's been scoring recently. As I said, they've just finally figured out how to use him, which they didn't. They didn't seem to have a clue what they're doing at the start of the year. But then again, it's kind of a new offense at the start, so you wouldn't blame them for that.
Yeah, that's a nice price as well. So, what's your bet of the weekend, Gary? Other than your 190-1 banker that's going to help us all retire early, but what else is? Yeah. What's your one bet of the weekend?
I think Cedric Wilson 7-4 anytime for the Cowboys is a great bet. And then my next bet would be Knox at 3-1. So 2 of those anytime touchdown scorers, I think are great bets.
Dermot, what about you?
I'm going to go with Montgomery over 1 or over 0.5 rushing touchdowns and over 71 rushing yards. I wouldn't bet if you're getting offered higher than 71, I probably wouldn't go near it because Dalton checks down quite a bit. But I think the other than that, I think that's Montgomery is going to be the bell cow back there, and I think he could have a field day against the Lions in terms of yards. So you should get them as a bit.
You're right for my fancy football teams anyway, there, Mark.
Yeah.
For me, it's that one I just mentioned a minute ago. I like the Dallas defense to score, considering their strengths and Carr's weaknesses there. So that's my one bet on that game as well. So any last points? Because anyone in the comments, by the way, feel free to drop us a question. We'll keep the show going and answer any questions if you have them. But if not, we can just round up here. So what are your any lasting thoughts, Gary? Anything we failed to cover?
No, just I think the main thing to point out is that we're going to have lots of content up on the site over the next couple of days. So if you haven't been on sportsrundown.com before, make sure to go and check it out. So we have a bet builder up there actually at the minute that you wrote, LB. So LB's thoughts is out there on the Cowboys Raiders. We're going to have a bet builder for the other two games as well. We'll have against the spread treble from Bassett, who writes our Sunday column and actually landed a 6.5 to 1 treble on Sunday. So that'll be out there. We'll have our college football picks and anytime touchdown score treble as well. So there's going to be plenty of content over the next week. Make sure to check it out. And yeah, have a good Thanksgiving. That's basically the main thing. Let's hope we get a few winners out of this stream.
Yeah, exactly. And watch the Cowboys carve up the Raiders defense on the middle game there. So, okay, well, look, Dermot, thanks for joining us. Pleasure to have you on the show. And usually you're giving us your inputs in the comments, so it's great to have you on air with us here. And like Gary said, there'll be loads of content from ourselves and the rest of the NFL team at sportsrun.com over the rest of the week. And just the last reminder with that Boyle Sports promotion, you can bet 10, get 30 free, and that enhancement on the three favorites on Thursday. So the Bears, the Bills, and the Cowboys at 3-1 to win. So thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. We're back on air on Friday, and we will see you then.
Cheers.